Hey guys, welcome back to another video of Marvel Contest of Champions, and today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. Now, a few days ago, we just had the latest update to the game, and with that, people are always super excited to see what the new stuff is going to be. Mainly the new characters, and probably like the new event quests, any new gimmicks or bug fixes, or any sorts of little changes that occur to the game during these updates. Now, something else we get during these updates are, of course, the new home loading screen, which is what you're looking at now, as well as a regular loading screen. Now, people aren't always as excited for these loading screens as they are for the rest of the content. However, this time with the home loading screen, there's something that you got to pay a little bit of closer attention to notice that this is actually a very important loading screen, as we are given some hints as to some stuff that could be coming to the game in the near future, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, of course, people, again, like I said, aren't always super excited for these things, for the loading screens, as they're more just of a cosmetic thing. Me, I always look forward to them just to kind of see the new art that's coming out. And personally, this loading screen, other than excluding the importance that this loading screen holds, I was really excited to see this loading screen. I think it's a very well done loading screen. Last updates for the Black Panther and that one I wasn't super excited about, but this one I think is a very cool loading screen. I like the idea with all the posters in the background, but like I said, there is some stuff hidden in here that again, you got to pay a little bit closer attention to see this stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm pretty excited, but yeah, mainly I guess I can say what it's going to be, because in the end you're going to read the title and know it anyway. This loading screen gives us some hints as to some new characters that could be joining the game. That is pretty exciting. However, it doesn't exactly say what those heroes' names are. However, there's lots of clues and even just some dead giveaways in this poster for these characters, and that's what we're going to talk about. In total, there are 7 new characters that are hinted to be coming to the game, and I'm going to talk about each of the characters first, and then afterwards there's some points I want to discuss, because there's some things I think are also important to note involving this home screen. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting on the left and working our way around in sort of a clockwise order, in the top left corner of the loading screen, we have a poster that says A. Grigorovich, which is Arkady Grigorovich, otherwise known as Omega Red. Now, this is a character that I wasn't not super familiar with, so I had to do a bit of research on him just before I did this part of the recording, and it turns out Omega Red is a villain in the Marvel Universe. He is a Russian serial killer, former KGB agent, mercenary. Primarily, he's a mercenary, and also a crime lord in New York, kingpin of New York's Red Mafia, from what I'm reading here. And he is primarily an adversary of Wolverine. He's also worked with characters like Sabretooth, which is why I think they would be bringing him into the game now that Sabretooth is in there, kind of as a partner to Sabretooth. But when I'm looking at this guy, this picture is kind of creepy, to be honest. He definitely speaks villain to me, but from what I read about his abilities, and that, as you can kind of see in the picture that I'm showing, he's kind of got these coils coming out of his arms, and that's kind of his main, I think is going to be his main form of offense in the game. Now, one thing that does kind of excite me about this, that if Omega Red is coming to the game, if he does have this sort of ability, this opens up a door for another character to come in, that being Whiplash, another villain in the Marvel Universe, of course. And that is a character that I would really like to get in, but that's not who we're talking about today. Right now we're talking about Omega Red. And again, like I said, this was the character I don't know too much about, but from what I've read about him, it seems like his main mutant ability, other than the coils coming from his wrists, it appears that he gives off this sort of pheromone that, from all I've read here, all it says is it's deadly to anyone in his immediate vicinity. So I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm not quite sure how that's going to be implemented in the game. My guess is in the form of some sort of degeneration ability, whether it just be straight degeneration or it's going to be some sort of thing that they're going to have for this character. And it also says that the coils from his arms allow him to it can also help him give off this pheromone. My guess is that he can kind of channel it through the coils, and then it'll give him a bit of a greater reach with that ability. But from what little there is about this character, it's kind of from the article that I'm reading about him, and that it says there is little known about his past and that, but yeah, it says it was a Russian serial killer captured and handed over to the KGB, which turned him into a super soldier and gave him the name Omega Red. And then the device that was a device called the carbonadium synthesizer, which was used to kind of help control his powers, was stolen by Team X, which consists of Wolverine, Sabretooth, Maverick, and Wrath. And basically, he allied himself with different teams and just single characters to get that device back, and he's come into contact with Wolverine and the X-Men numerous times. As of course, being a villain in the Marvel Universe, quite often he is defeated. But just from the little bit that I've read about this character, I'm interested to see what he's gonna be like. I mean, this character, just because I don't know too much about him, I'm maybe not originally super excited about him, but probably the thing I'm most excited for is that with this guy's abilities, that does leave that window open for Whiplash, which personally I would prefer him so far over Omega Red. However, his pheromone ability I am interested to see, because I will be expecting some sort of degenerative ability out of this character. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But having the kind of a alliance or former partnership with Sabretooth, I can see why they chose to bring this character into the game. And I don't know. Again, we'll just have to wait and see what he's going to be like. I don't know, I got mixed feelings about this guy, but we'll just have to wait and see. Next up, we have a name that I'm probably gonna pronounce wrong, but I'm gonna say it's Ichiki, which is Hisako Ichiki, otherwise known as Armor, and I apologize if I mispronounced her name. Again, it seems like most of these characters that are coming out, I'll admit, I don't know their names, so I'm just kind of doing some quick research on each of these characters, but this next character, as I said, is Armor. This is a character that I haven't actually been able to find too much about, so I'm just kind of going off just a little bit of information here, but this is a character that does look interesting. Her power seems pretty simple. You can kind of see in the picture that I'll be showing. She's able to, well, it says here, she's able to generate a psionic exoskeleton around her entire body. And it says by drawing on the strength of the line of her ancestors. Now, that I'm not quite sure what that means, but we can kind of basically, you can see it in the picture. She kind of has basically like a giant suit of armor around her. And this, I'm interested to see what her abilities are going to be like, considering that that's basically all I'm able to find out about her, is that she's able to create this armor. So I don't know if she's just going to be kind of like just a straight melee combatant, maybe just kind of like, I don't want to say another version of Colossus, but maybe a more powerful version of Colossus. I don't know if she's able to, you know, give off like a laser blast or energy blast of some sort, or she's able to give off projectiles or anything like that. So this character, for the most part, for me at least right now, is kind of a mystery as to what she's going to be like in the game. Though I'd say this character, I'm just interested to see how she's going to look, because from the pictures I've seen of her, she looks really cool. Like when her powers are activated and that, she looks really, really cool. So I'm very interested to see how that's going to transfer into character design into the game, because it's like you have her body and then like the armor is not like straight connected to her. There's quite a bit of gap in between her and the exterior of the armor. So that I'm interested to see how that is gonna look in the game. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, kind of just like an open book from, or kind of like a blank page here for me. There's not too much about her. Just kind of talks about how she was a student at Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, and she eventually became a member of the X-Men. Just reading here that when she helped Wolverine with some stuff, she learned that Wolverine intended for her to become a member of the X-Men, and that's how she got her code name Armor. And there's a couple villains. It only talks to her about her fighting a couple different villains, neither of which I've heard of before, so I can't give too much information on her. But yeah, so the next character, of course, is Armor, Hisako Ichiki. Probably pronouncing that wrong, but we're gonna go with it for now. But yeah, like I said, this character I don't know too much about, so if you know more about this character, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to learn more about her, if you can that, or if you maybe send me a link to a page with a bit more information than the one that I'm using. I know you won't be seeing what page I'm using, but hopefully we can get a bit more information out on her. But yeah, the next character coming out is next character that may be coming out will be Armor. Next is R. Da Costa, which is Roberto Da Costa, otherwise known as Sunspot, and this is a guy that I'm personally very, very excited for. His powers seem so cool, and it just seems like he would be. It seems like he'd be quite a powerhouse in the game. So it says here that basically Roberto Costa grew up in Brazil. He had a promising career in soccer. However, there was during one match, his powers were ignited when basically another player basically knocked him to the ground and said some sort of racial remark to Roberto, and that triggered his powers, which he then proceeded to beat his opponent into the ground, which is just kind of like, what the heck is happening with me when you suddenly find yourself all powerful and beating the crap out of another guy. I don't know, but it says here that after this, though, basically everyone abandoned him except for his girlfriend. And later on, however, when he was targeted to be captured and unable to be captured, group kidnapped his girlfriend in a way, I guess, ordered to kind of get Sunspot on their side to force him to join them. However, the New Mutants intervened and were able to. Unfortunately, they weren't able to save his girlfriend. His girlfriend died. However, later he did join the New Mutants with Charles Xavier, and was given the code name Sunspot. Now, when it comes to his powers and that, from what I'll just read off the website here. It says Sunspot is able to absorb solar energy and metabolize it into physical strength, convert it into thrust to enable flight, or rechannel it as heat or infrared radiation. When doing so, Da Costa's features melt away into a black mass of crackling dark energy, which is kind of what you can see in the picture here. In unlighted places, Da Costa suffers a slight drop in his power levels. So basically, he has solar powers, which are powered by the sun itself. So in a way, you could kind of think of it like Superman. He gains his strength from the sun, but when he's out of the sun for a certain amount of period of time, it does kind of weaken him because he needs the energy from the sun. So that's kind of the same thing here with Sunspot, but it looks like from the pictures that I've seen of him, it looks like he's just kind of able to just give out just full-on energy blasts, which I would love to see how they would incorporate that into the game. And also the thing that they could apply this the fact that his power comes from solar energy, and that could lead to some sort of buff that could kind of build up over time and increase his power, or they could definitely play around with that in the game. But and like I said, metabolize it basically gives him strength, and to convert it into thrust, which means he can fly, which is of course very, very cool. And you could, in a way, kind of think of it like the Human Torch, kind of using the energy to propel himself forward. In the end, it's just kind of like that, or actually more kind of like Iron Man. Kind of a mix between Human Torch and Iron Man would kind of be, I guess, a good example of how this guy can get around in that. But again, another character that this is one so far out of the three that I've talked about so far. This is the guy I'd say so far I'm the most excited about, because I think he has probably the most. I think he has the most potential so far out of the three. But again, I'm not even halfway through the characters, and there's a couple that I know that are coming up that I'm super excited to talk about. So we'll get to those guys in a second here. But yeah, the third character that may be coming to Marvel Contest of Champions is Sunspot. Next is D. Haller, which is David Haller, otherwise known as Legion, and as it turns out, Legion is the son of Professor X himself, and his powers are very interesting. Now, it seems, from what I've read about the character, it appears that Legion has kind of taken on multiple personalities, and he has a wide variety of powers, which I'll just read off a few of them here. It says he has telekinesis, pyrokinesis, telepathy, the ability to time travel, shape-shifting, and there's a couple others here which are very interesting. But the thing that I'd say that interests me the most with his abilities in that is the fact that each of these abilities are tied with the different personalities that he holds. Like, it lists off here, like there's I'm not sure about who all the different personalities are, but it says there's a character whose name is Jack Wayne. The telekinesis abilities are tied to that personality. So this is one thing I'm interested to see with the character, how they will incorporate that into the game, because he definitely has a lot of potential with this wide variety of abilities. At the same time, it makes me think that he might be similar to maybe like a Phoenix type of character, which I would think would be very, very cool. But I'm interested to see the fact that all these abilities are tied to different personalities. So I'm trying to remember right now. I'm trying to remember, but I can't. I know there are characters in the game who will have certain abilities unlocked depending on which kind of like state or mode they're in, or like which Oh, I can't think of it right now, but I think an example is Beast. He has two different kind of I'll call them different modes, different Beast modes. Funny joke there. But he kind of has two different modes there, and certain stats are affected by which mode is activated. So that's my guess is probably the route that they would go with Legion. Is they would give kind of each personality a different mode, and when that certain abilities are activated, like when the pyrokinesis ability is activated, there they could give kind of like the incinerate ability would only be activated when, you know, X personality is active or X mode is activated or something like that. You know, it'd be kind of linked to it'd be that sort of thing that they would have with the character, which I think would be very, very interesting. But not too much information I'm able to find on this character, though he definitely seems like he has a lot of potential. So I'm excited to see what Legion will be like if he were to join the roster of Marvel Contest of Champions. Next is C. Rankin, which is Calvin Rankin, otherwise known as Mimic. And from what I've read on the forums and that, this is one character I think people are probably one of the more characters people are more excited for out of this group of 7, because Mimic's powers are pretty darn awesome. I mean, in the end, the name kind of gives it away, but Mimic is able to mimic or copy the abilities and basically copy what anyone else is. Like, just reading off what it says officially his powers are here, it says he has the ability to copy the powers, abilities, attributes, IQ, talents, fighting skills, and characteristics of anyone around him, as well as their physical appearance. So, like, skin color, hairstyle and color, bone structure, bone composition, voice, eye color, anything about anybody this guy is able to copy, and that is pretty darn cool if I do say so myself. That is the kind of ability that I would want to have if I became a mutant. I think that would be so cool. Though this guy, I'm not quite sure whether to classify him as a villain or a hero, because this guy, he really, really wants to become an X-Men. He really wants to join the X-Men, and I think he would be a really awesome addition. But when he's not allowed to join the X-Men, he kind of revolts against them and fights back, and he joins he doesn't exactly join the right kind of company. Like, at one point he aligns himself with the Super Adaptoid, and he fights against the X-Men. At one point he even captures Jean Grey, and basically kind of uses her as a leverage to get him into the X-Men, which eventually he is eventually kicked out of the X-Men when he attacks Cyclops, and so it's kind of a mixed a messy relationship with the X-Men that Mimic has. But when I'm just reading here, like, there is maybe I'll show kind of a screenshot of it here, but there's just a list of all of the characters that he has at one point copied the abilities of, and it is a very, very long list. Like, it's like, holy smokes, this is like, he has so much, like, in the game. I don't know how they're gonna reenact this in the game. Like, he has so much potential for the game. He could be such a powerful character, like god tier character. He has such potential, and it's kind of nuts, to be honest. He could have all the good features from characters like Archangel, Iceman, Wolverine. Like, he could copy like all sorts of things, and he could be such an overpowered character. But of course, you know, to make it a bit more fair in the game, they're gonna have to kind of cut him off at a certain point here. But I'm excited. I'm more just out of curiosity of how they're gonna portray this character in the game. But Mimic, possible god tier, coming to Marvel Contest of Champions. So we'll just have to wait and see. Next up, we have a name that's slightly cut off in the picture itself. It says NS, which is extended to N Essex, which is Nathaniel Essex, otherwise known as Mr. Sinister. And I think out of all the characters, out of these 7 characters, I think this is the character that people are going to be the most excited about, as this is a character that I've heard people requesting to be added to the game for a long time. Mr. Sinister is a pretty big villain in the I would say in the mutant world, and and he's another character similar to Mimic, who has a lot of abilities. So there's a lot of ways that this character could go, but this is one that I would be surprised if he didn't become a character. Also, I mean, one thing that definitely helps that makes me think that this is going to become that he's going to become a character, and he's going to become one of the well, let me start over here. I think he's going to become a character, a playable character for sure, and I think he's going to be one of the earlier characters to be released. Reason being, out of all the characters that I'm talking about today, he's the only one that you can actually see part of his face in the poster. All the other characters are just a black silhouette, or you don't see them at all. Mr. Sinister, you can see definite facial features, which means the player model is either nearly complete or complete. So I have a feeling this is going to be a character that will be released earlier out of this list of characters. However, will that be within the next couple months? I don't know, because as you may have seen a video a while ago, there was like the first 10 characters for this year have been released. So these characters may not be coming out until a few months later, but at the same time, with 7 characters, that's good. That's enough characters for 3 to 4 months of characters. So I don't think they're all going to come out at once. I think they're going to be spread out over time. As to when that'll be, I don't know, but I have a feeling Mr. Sinister will be one of the earlier ones to come out. And like I said, he's got so many different abilities. His abilities were granted by Apocalypse, but he's got everything from oh, I'm missing my line here. There it is. Telepathy, telekinesis, superhuman strength. He can give energy blasts from his hands. He can shapeshift, and he's given himself all sorts of powers. And he also has an extended lifespan, which gives him even more time to improve on himself. So this is another character that has a lot of potential, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing come to the game. So Mr. Sinister, I think it's pretty safe to say he's coming to the game no matter what. Last and certainly not least is a character that I think needs little introduction. That is E. Frost, which otherwise known as Emma Frost, otherwise known as the White Queen. And I think this is a character that a lot of people saw and we're kind of hoping for to come eventually. And I think this is a character that definitely has a very good chance of coming into the game, mainly because of the fact that her poster, while it's not quite in the center, it's kind of right out there. Her name is very, very clear. It's not towards the edge of the poster. It's more towards the middle. So, and just in general, this is a character I think would fit very well into the game. Emma Frost is probably one of the more well-known Marvel villains. Mainly, I'd say probably the main reason that is also because she was in the X-Men movies. Which, of course, a lot of people, while they may not read the comics, they've probably seen the movies, and they will know this character. She has, as far as her abilities go, she has a wide variety of telepathic powers, which include mind reading, projecting thoughts. She can even kind of put her enemies into like a unconscious state, just by kind of the thought of it, and then also she can cause also like pain that's not physical pain, but it's like mental pain. It'll affect the opponent's brain. And then her more famous ability is the fact that she can turn her body into basically like a diamond like form, and she becomes basically nearly indestructible, because as we all know, diamonds are, as far as we know, the strongest substance on Earth. And she basically becomes like she becomes a walking diamond where she's almost indestructible. So I'm interested to see if she does come to the game, which I think she will. Which form will they have her in? What will be her physical form in the game? Will it be kind of the white cloak version, or will it be this diamond? Or will she be like in her diamond form? Downside of that is when she is in her diamond form, her telepathic abilities are suppressed, and also other telepaths cannot read her mind when she's in that diamond form, which is something we saw in one of the X-Men movies and that. But I'm interested to see what they'll choose, or maybe they'll do something where it's like she's in the cloak form for most of her attacks and that. But when it comes to that third special, maybe that's when she'll go into her diamond form, and I think that would be a pretty cool third special, if you ask me. But I don't know. But overall, this is a character that I think we have a greater chance of seeing as a playable character for sure, and one that I think the fans would really enjoy getting. So now that we've covered all of the 7 possible characters to come to the game, there's a couple things that I want to talk about, or at least point out before we end the video here. First one is, on this poster, if you look closely, it's actually kind of funny. Beast makes 3 appearances on the poster, one being towards the middle. On the left of Sabretooth, we see a clear picture of Beast with the name McCoy underneath it, and I'm assuming the first initial will be H. The second one we see is in the very top right corner, though phone users or iPhone or Android users, you might not actually see this on your screens, because I know when I'm on my phone I didn't see this. However, this picture that you're looking at is off of my tablet, so it's actually a slightly wider image. In the very top right, there is another image of Beast, and it has the name Beast underneath it instead of Hank McCoy. So that's just kind of something that's interesting. And then the third one is not a very clear image, but on the right of Sabretooth, right by his shoulder, we don't see a name, but you definitely see the very clear image, or the very distinct shape of his ear and shoulder. So that is definitely a third image of Beast, which seems interesting, the fact that Beast is on here 3 times. I saw on the forums someone made a joke that maybe the Beast was such a threat that the Sentinels had to take him out 3 times. I don't know. That's just, I don't know why they did that. You know, it's like, you got over 100 characters. I'm sure you could have found someone else to put there. I don't know. That just seems interesting to me. Next thing I want to talk about is something else someone pointed out in the forums, is the fact that we're getting all these 7 new characters, but we still don't have Mystique coming to the game. And Mystique is one character that a lot of people do really want to come to the game, and I would really like to see her in the game. But the thing that I think is holding Kabam back from putting her in the game is the fact that her powers might not actually be a very good fit for this type of game. While she's a very iconic character and her shape-shifting abilities are very well known, in a game like this, shape-shifting may not be the best ability, and it'd be really hard. I mean, it'd be basically nearly impossible to incorporate that into her fighting style, but you definitely could argue that, of course, she is a very good hand-to-hand combatant and has vast knowledge in different weapons and that, but maybe the argument there would be more just she might become just basically like another Black Widow, which is maybe something that Kabam doesn't want. But then again, we have multiple Wolverines, multiple Cyclopses, so you never know. Eventually we may see a Mystique, but I doubt. I have a feeling there won't be any shape-shifting abilities involved there. And the last thing I want to point out, just the third point here that I want to give off, is while all these characters, there's a pretty good chance that a lot of these guys will be coming to the game, like especially Mr. Sinister, the fact that we can see part of his face in the picture, as well as Emma Frost, whose name is fairly centered on this poster. It's not hidden like the other 6 are. It's not guaranteed that all of these characters will be playable. The reason I say that is the fact that in the very, on the left-hand side of the poster, right by Bishop's gun, we see a poster of Weapon X, who is a non-playable character, and maybe this is maybe he will eventually become playable, but a lot of people don't think that's going to happen. He's just going to kind of be a story mode kind of character, just kind of there to talk about. And the next one is something that I think probably not too many people actually saw. Going back over to Sabretooth, by his left shoulder, just over top, you can see just the outline, or the snout of Lockjaw, who is another non-playable character, and just kind of a storyline character as well. But the fact that these 2 are in the poster, it may mean that not all of these mutants will be playable. Some of them might just be story characters, kind of like Jessica Jones, Weapon X, and Lockjaw. You know, they may not all be playable. However, I think the chances are pretty good. The fact that they've been adding so many mutants to the game lately, it's definitely more likely that they will be playable, but part of me at the same time feels like there might be 1 or 2 that might be non-playable. Characters that I would think that would probably be Legion. I think would actually be a very good chance that he might be a non-playable character, considering his powers and kind of his relationship to the characters, and that he might be an NPC. But as for the rest, I think it's pretty good chance that they will all be playable. But again, we'll just have to wait and see how that is going to turn out. But as for that is going to be all that I want to talk about. I think I've been going on long enough, so I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this video was somewhat informational, somewhat helpful, and intriguing to see what the next, or what the characters might be coming out. Let me know what you think about all these characters, what you think about them possibly being released in the comments below. Are you excited? Are you not? Which ones are you most excited for out of these 7? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. And if you like this kind of stuff, we got lots of it coming out all the time, so feel free to subscribe to the channel. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.